Emails and recordings revealed Donna's obsession with relocating Wendy and her 2 young sons to Miami. The only obstacle in the way was Dan Markel. She allegedly enlisted her son, Charlie Adelson, who recruited his lover, Catherine McBanoa, to hire hitmen. Now, over a decade later, Donna Adelson, age 75, is on trial, facing charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation, accused of orchestrating a murder-for-hire plot born of custody and control. Wendy denies involvement and has not been charged. And tonight, we have all the big moments from court, including testimony from a jailhouse informant. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And the job of the jury, they're the finders of fact in every case. And there's testimony and there's ways to come to a conclusion about the facts, and a lot of times what a jury has to do is judge the credibility of witnesses, judge the credibility of evidence, and that's what they're charged with doing inside a trial. The judge is the one who's in charge of the law, but the facts are determined by the jury, and sometimes there's a conflict of evidence, sometimes there's a conflict of testimony. Now, in this case, Donna Adelson may testify, and if she does, they will judge her credibility on the witness stand. But there are other moments during the course of this trial where they have had an opportunity to judge the credibility of Donna Adelson. Donna reacting during the bump, that video. How did she react when someone bumped into her and started talking about money and jail and all these other things? You know, that has an impact on the case. The way she acts, her demeanor, her reaction to that moment. Then there are the wiretaps, the recordings. Donna talking to Charlie, Charlie talking to Donna, the back and forth, what they're saying, how they're saying it. That too is something that the jury will take a look at and will evaluate. You know, her tone, her choice of words, when she is making these phone calls, when she's receiving these calls, when and where these conversations take place. Extremely important in determining the facts of the case. You also have one other place, which is Donna in court. She's there every day. The jury can look at her each and every day and examine the way she's comporting herself during the course of the case, right? During certain pieces of evidence and testimony that the jury is hearing, Donna Adelson is also hearing it at the same time. Yeah, they may take a little look at her, like, well, how is she reacting to this? Right? It's all part of the process. I've spoken to so many jurors through the years, and they notice everything, including defendants inside the courtroom. So that's where I want to start tonight. I want to start by taking a look at Donna Adelson and the way she's acting and reacting inside the courtroom during some very significant and important moments, including one from today when they played that open call. She had spoken to Charlie Adelson from inside, right? Charlie is in jail. Donna is free. They have the phone call. Charlie hangs up. She thinks the call is over, but it's not, and it's still recording. So you hear a conversation of Donna Adelson and the people that are with her in her home. What I want you to watch, though, as you listen to what she is saying and reacting to, is take a look at Donna's reaction to that moment. Now, this piece I'm going to show you is going to begin, the camera is on Harvey Adelson, so you'll see his reaction, but then the camera will turn to Donna. Let's take a look.
I'm so tricked up. I'm so tricked because he didn't do. I can't push it. I'm not that strong. And I don't know how he is a year ahead. His body and everything just slowly started to deteriorate. I'm old. I feel like we had a great marriage. Happy, we traveled, we went good. I'm really not unhappy. I want to just say goodbye. It doesn't painful. It's so good. Please, we're going to cemetery property a couple months ago. We're good. I'm good. But when you did this weekend, because I had something that made her feel like I had enough, there was nothing to watch. I know what I need to do. Now, we got all something involved because the one turned out here. She never once does come over. I keep pushing. It's not very. I'm sure. Probably. Make sure. He sat down on his couch right there. I was sitting here. And he didn't say, it's a horrible night performance, Joey, not fun for his life. It was all aggravated. But it didn't really take him just sat there and just put the silence in a direction. I'm not suicidal. I'm fine. 6 feet 1 torn out. Yes, it's good. Something I should do. What is that? Now, I went to the bank. I just want to go to sleep and not see my son. I do. Perfectly honest, I do. And what we do, we do it together. Every time she says, can you do this, can you come here, can you do that? Everything. How many times do we have plans that I go to cancel when we need us for this, when we need us to babysit? So we've been really good nannies, and I guess our job is up. Because now we're much older, they can go out with friends, they can do things on their own. So she doesn't need to have her friends on. Okay, very hurtful. That's one son that I don't speak with. I have one son that's supposed to be dead. And my daughter, whom I love, is doing this. I don't get it. I don't get it. I said to mother and sweet son, our family was cursed. So we cursed. And I don't know how to take care of it anymore. So,
Fascinating, because in the recorded call, she's kind of throwing a pity party for herself, that grandma's not needed anymore for the boys. Well, what the boys need is their father, by the way. Okay, so what was going on there with Donna Adelson? Let's get some more context. Body language expert and behavior analyst Scott Rouse is with us. Scott, great to see you. What did you think about that part of what she was listening to and how she was reacting inside the courtroom to those moments?
What we usually look for in a situation like this are the things that are missing. The engagement in the glabella, which is this little group of muscles right here, that's usually the first thing we look for to see if someone is feeling grief, if they're feeling concern, those kind of things. This is more worry than anything, anxiety and worry, which would be normal in this situation because from what she's listening to. So there's not a whole lot going on, but you see that fixed gaze down there to her right. That lets us know she's up in her head and she has inner dialogue going on. So she's thinking about what's happening. She's thinking about this far into the future as she's hearing these words. Is this the first time she's hearing this stuff? Do you know?
No, she's heard it before. She's absolutely heard it before.
Okay. Okay, great. Well,
but this is very public, though, and this is the moment where she's being recorded. She didn't know that the recording was going on, but it seemed to be a private conversation that everyone's hearing now about family things. I want you to take a look at another moment. This is from a little bit earlier in the trial, as the autopsy photos are put up for people to see Donna Adelson during this part of the trial. I think a little bit different than what we just saw here. Remember, she's accused of orchestrating the murder that caused this autopsy. So let's take a look.
What are we looking at here, doctor?
This is actually the identification photograph of the individual. We like to get them cleaned up. We'll put the identifying tag underneath their chin, the case number, the date, and usually my initials. And you can see that there has been quite a bit of damage here, particularly in the left side of the face. We have a gunshot wound here that's labeled number 1 in the autopsy report. and this is number 2, labeled number 2 in the autopsy report.
By labeling them 1 and 2 respectively, are you opining that that's the order in which those shots were fired?
No, the numbering system in the autopsy report is just for me to discuss during the trial.
Publish 28, please. What does 28 show?
So this is what I call gunshot wound number 2. And you can see it's quite irregular. It's not a nice round hole you'd like to see, but the way it hit the bone, it caused a lot of damage and tearing in this area here. You can see that there's some what we call raccoon eyes or hemorrhage around the eyes.
All right, Scott, what are you seeing here from Donna Adelson as Dan Markel's autopsy photos are being shown?
We're seeing a combination of things. We're seeing some things that are missing. We're seeing some things that are added. Now, usually when someone sees something like this, when you're talking about autopsy photos of someone that you know, when she brings the tissue up to her nose and all that, and she squeezes her arms together, that's normal. We won't see that. However, her mouth isn't open. Quite often you'll see a gasp or that open mouth gape when you see something like that because it's someone you know, and there's this horror that goes along with it. We're not seeing that, and that makes me wonder about the veracity of the emotions she's supposedly showing us. We see that really tight shaking really quickly. That's, in my opinion, that's a little bit put on because those are usually larger than that. Those little shakes are the tremors like that. So that makes me wonder as well. We've seen adaptive cue or adapting when she has the tissue up to her face, she pushes with her thumb onto her chin, onto her jawbone. And we push on things like that. We do that to help us get rid of that built-up stress and tension. That's what adapters do. So when you push on that muscle and you let go, it kind of relaxes a little bit. It's very small. It's not that big a deal. But psychologically, you're looking for comfort, and you have to do it yourself. So that's what that would be about, is what I'm thinking. Same thing with the hugging herself, because at this point, as she's looking at this, she's probably thinking, from a psychological point of view, this may be my fault. I don't know if it is or not, but she may be saying, this is my fault. This is horrible. This, the way this is going is not that good. We're seeing all the things we should see in stress, as far as stress goes, but we're not seeing any tears. We're not seeing any grief. We're not seeing any engagement of the chin boss, nothing in the grief muscle, nothing that shows us she's stressed over the loss itself. It's always horrible when you see autopsy photos, as you know, and nobody wants to see that. And so I can understand some of the engagement of the brow a little bit in the glabella there, from the shock of seeing that, the quote-unquote horror of seeing that, but it's not, there's no depth to that. It's not deep enough, in my opinion, for it to really have an effect on her personally. Loss.
All right, let's take a look at the final piece now. This is an interesting scenario because her daughter, Wendy, has been called by prosecutors. She's getting immunity. She's not there like saying, I want to testify, but she's compelled to testify. So it's Wendy Adelson on the witness stand, Donna listening to the testimony.
And during the time that you were living here in Tallahassee, did you live over on Trescott Drive?
For some of the time that we lived here, yes.
And when your first child was born, were you residing at the Trescott Drive residence at that point?
Yes.
Okay. I think I have a photo of that here. Is that the Trescott Drive residence?
Yes.
And how many children did you have with Mr. Markel?
We have 2 children.
What were their ages at the time of their father's death?
It was 10 days before my older son's 5th birthday, so he was 4 turning 5, and our younger son was 3.5. The boys are 14 months apart.
And did there come a time when you and Mr. Markel separated?
Yes.
When was the separation?
It was in the fall of 2012.
Whose decision was it to separate?
It was mine.
All right, Scott, you seeing anything in this part?
Well, when you see things like this, you think, well, there's nothing going on, not seeing much at all. There's a lot going on here from a stress perspective, because what's happening, if you'll take a look at her blink rate, when we usually blink 15, 20 times per minute, and sometimes the Donna will blink maybe 30, 40 times a minute. And at one point, I think she did 60 when I counted her. I took a look at this earlier. And it involves the children, when she's talking about that, and the divorces when the the fluttering starts, and that lets us know that there's a rise in stress there. So, and that's really important indication of stress when we're looking for things like that, especially when someone doesn't show a whole lot in their expression. She is focused. There's no question about that. She's listening, but a couple of deep breaths there help get rid of some of that built-up stress and tension. But other than that, there's not a whole lot going on. But she's listening to what's being said, but it's not really having that big effect on her, other than those little spots where we see the eye blink, the blink flutter.
Scott Rouse, great to have you here. Great to have your insight. We appreciate it. We'll see you again. All right, let's bring in our think tank tonight. Joining us, former LA County Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé, Criminal Defense Attorney Ellis Palavidas, and Criminal Defense Attorney Alan Kagawa. All right. Is she good? Is she bad? Is she helping herself? Is she not helping herself? What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, I do, to be honest with you. I just pray to God she doesn't take the stand, because if she does, I'm telling you, they're going to put her through the Vegematic. They're going to get her 6 ways to Sunday. People are going to understand that there are always unforced errors when a case is presented, and that hot mic moment certainly is not flattering. But I don't think it's really all that incriminating. I think what you really have are sort of cries of a desperate, frightened woman who has systematically seen everybody drop off around her. She doesn't understand what is necessary for proof purposes of a crime. And she honestly believes in her son's innocence. And now she's wondering, what is the state? What is the man going to do to me now? And what you're saying is, I can kind of see this in my own Yiddish mama, my own Yiddish grandma, just desperate and crying, without the benefit of having counsel at your side during that hot mic moment. So I think she genuinely comes off sympathetic. The only distinction really between how she presents in court and how she presents in the other videos is that, she's a little more well upholstered, if you will, cherubic, probably from all the high carb, high fat, high sodium food they're giving her. But other than that, she kind of looks like a sweet old lady who looks like she has no idea what's going on or why this is happening to her. Again, I just pray she doesn't take the stand, though.
Oh, I think she is. Ellis, what are your thoughts about her demeanor and reactions inside the courtroom?
I think there's two levels to this. The first, the trial strategy optics. In this instance, if there is that discussion, in other words, if it isn't sincere, let's say, they're trying to portray this picture that she's an older lady and she's sweet and she's responding emotionally. That matters to some extent in a murder for hire plot, because that's a very calculated way to commit a murder. It's an aggravated way to commit a murder. And so to some extent, you want to portray that person as somebody who has emotions. But the flip side, though, is somebody who has those emotions and was in an emotional situation with respect to whether she would get her children could also now add to that motive, that this is a mama bear that will protect her cubs at all costs, and that's what she did.
All right, Alan Kagawa, I got it right this time, right? Did I get it right the second time?
Absolutely.
All right, thank goodness.
100%.
So sorry. All right, Alan, what do you think? Is she helping herself, hurting herself out there?
Oh, I respect my colleagues, absolutely, but I have to say, I don't think she is credible at all. What I see is someone who has a history of control, and it's all falling apart at this trial. I believe that's why her body language is off. That's why there's no empathy. This is someone who's feeling bad for herself.
All right, our think tank staying with us. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the testimony of the jailhouse informant who has some alleged corroborating documentation concerning conversations with Donna Adelson. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, the Idaho 4 killer got a deal from prosecutors and is spending the rest of his life locked up. And now the public recordings from the responding officers' body cameras have finally been released. What do they reveal? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The matriarch mastermind murder trial continues Tuesday morning on Court TV.
Were you recently incarcerated in the Leon County Jail with Donna Adelson?
Yes, I was. She actually called me her jail daughter, and she and I got close.
I do not like jailhouse informants, generally speaking. I think sometimes they taint a prosecutor's case. I don't trust these people. I don't believe them. They need something to corroborate it because they're all looking for something, right? That's generally the way it works. Well, this is Drina Bernhardt, who, as she described herself, was like Donna Adelson's jailhouse daughter. But she says there is corroboration of these conversations with Donna Adelson, and they were actually written. Take a listen.
Did she ever mention to you a state witness by the name of Catherine Magbanoa?
Yes.
And was Ms. Magbanoa somebody that was known to you?
Yes, I knew Miss Magbanoa from being locked up with her years before.
And how did she first bring up Magbanoa to you, or did you bring Magbanoa up to her?
I can't remember exactly how it was brought up. I just know that it was brought to her attention.
Brought to her attention that you knew Magbanoa?
Yeah.
Okay. And at some point, did the defendant try to recruit you to become a witness for her in this case?
Yes.
How did she first approach you about that?
She asked me if I would be willing to do it, and I said yes.
Okay. And was this topic discussed one time or more than one time?
More than once.
How many times can you estimate? A lot?
A lot, yes.
At some point, did she prepare a script for you of exactly what she wanted you to testify to?
She did.
I'm going to approach and show you. Whose notebook is this?
That's mine.
Okay. And whose handwriting is this on this first page?
That's Donna's, Miss Adelson.
Okay, so she wrote this in your notebook?
Yes, ma'am.
This says that Kay told you that she told Charlie on the night of the murder that some friends of hers went to Tallahassee and killed him. Did Kay ever tell you that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. She asked him to give her the 1/3 of $1 million that he was going to pay his sister so that she could relocate with her children to Miami. He went crazy on her. He said that that was going to be an offer to his brother-in-law not to kill him. Did Kay ever say any of that to you?
No, ma'am.
But that's what Mrs. Adelson wanted you to come in and tell this jury.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she give you anything or promise you anything in exchange for reciting this script?
While I was in jail, I received packages and phone calls, and I was promised things as well.
What type of packages?
Packages are in jail just like a bunch of basically gas station food, but it's exciting when you're in jail.
Okay, and what about phone calls? What do you mean by that?
Just the phone calls are very expensive from jail, so she would let me use her phone to call my mother and other people.
Okay, and you said she promised you other things in the future. What other types of things?
$10,000, a grand piano.
What else?
She promised me cameras, but
none of that came to fruition?
No.
Okay. And what about pills? Did she mention anything to you about pills?
Yes, that if I needed pills, that I could call a doctor named, I think, Obed. I think that's his name.
Okay.
Yes.
And that person would write you some prescriptions?
Yes, ma'am.
And how were you going to get these other items, like the $10,000?
The money would be through something called Zelle.
Okay. And who was going to send the money through Zelle?
Harvey.
That's her husband, Harvey Adelson?
Yes.
All right, back to our think tank. Philip Dubé, Ellis Palavidas, and Alan. I'm going to mess it up again. Kagawa. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. Like, okay. So let's start with you, Ellis.
You got it.
I got it. Ellis, this is really bad. This is a jailhouse informant who is allegedly bringing receipts. This is rare. that they bring receipts. Usually they just testify, and I take it with the biggest grain of salt I could find.
You're always going to take what we call a jailhouse informant with a big grain of salt. First, the fact that they're incarcerated. Second, that they're going to get a benefit. So jailhouse informants, generally speaking, are frowned upon. How do you build them up to make them helpful? Number one, you need to get that corroboration. So the notes that she took and all this other evidence that they exist, that they could prove the packages. If they can, the phone calls, for example, right? If she's on the jail recorded call on her phone, that would corroborate that testimony, which is really powerful. But second, you need to also think about how using a jailhouse informant is going to play into your overall strategy. And in this case, I think part of the defense is she's the boss, she's controlling, and in any context that she's in, she's calling shots and using people. So in many ways, the fact that she also did this in jail is, I think, the reason why the prosecution is really using this jailhouse informant. It's like, look, we even put her there and she's doing this. That's what the point is.
She just can't help herself. Alan, did you see some of her reactions as this testimony was going on?
I did. I'd say when it comes to her reactions, if this was completely false, I would have expected a lot more shock, a lot more surprise, that kind of thing. I simply did not see that here. There might have been a couple small things, but nothing major.
Philip Dubé, I don't know if you believe in handwriting experts or an analyst, but the prosecution brought one in, Kate Butler. Let's hear what she had to say about the notebook.
What conclusion did you reach in reference to the question, did Donna Adelson write the script contained in State's Exhibit 62?
I identified the known writing purportedly written by Donna Adelson as to be the writer of the question handwriting.
Philip, do you have any doubt about it?
No, I have no doubt. It's ironclad. There's no question, and they're not going to rebut it with their own handwriting expert. The question for the jury is going to be, is it significant enough to say that just because she was trying to suborn this type of testimony, does it only support more evidence of guilt? And I kind of liken it to, if you remember the OJ case where the cops were accused of planting evidence and there was the old expression, we don't want to frame a guilty person. You go forward with what you have. If Donna truly believes in her innocence, it sounds like she was trying to reinforce it with suborned evidence. It's sort of the converse. And I don't think it's going to land well with the jury. And I think I'm going to walk back on what I said earlier. She might really have to take the stand and explain why she did that. I think she truly believed that she needed more proof of innocence. And it didn't dawn on her that by essentially bribing fellow inmates, that they would come to her rescue. And the only lesson to be learned from this, and I'm sure the think tank will agree, that there is no friends, there is no honor, and there is no loyalty among fellow inmates, none whatsoever. They're all out for themselves. Even if it means just getting a field trip to court to testify, even if it means just getting an extra orange juice with your breakfast, something as insignificant as that is actually quite important to them, and they'll do whatever they can to get it, and even if it means having to squeal on another inmate.
Well, Alan, I mean, she could have held out for the grand piano and not, right? Go along with the whole thing. Don't inform on her, and you end up with a grand piano.
Absolutely. She could have held up for the grand piano. She could have held out for quite a bit of things. But yeah, in this particular case, I'd say there's a lot of credibility issues here, but the fact that that is Donna's letter is absolutely going to be important to the jury.
Yeah, and Alice, the one thing about this case, though, against Donna, and we've been talking about this throughout, is so much of the evidence is cultivated in things that she did after the murder of Dan Markel, after the planning and plotting of the murder of Dan Markel.
That is typical in a murder for hire type case when you're going after the person that orchestrated it. The reason is typically their role was considered, planned, premeditated, appropriate measures were put into place, and there was distance. You weren't, she had an alibi, for example, on the night of the incident. However, after the fact is when you typically will betray yourself, intentionally or unintentionally, and that's because you now have to coordinate a team. essentially. And you can't have a perfect plan. Nothing plays out the exact same way. And usually that's where it unravels. And that type of evidence is called consciousness of guilt evidence, which is a very standard tool that they use in prosecutions. So that's not a problem in terms of the strength of the case.
And you've teed up the next segment. When we come back, a little more consciousness of guilt. Was Donna Adelson trying to flee to Vietnam?
You have an ID? No, I don't want to give it to you. Why do I have to? Because my attorney. Why do I have to give it to you? This is evidence. Evidence. She's under arrest. I have to go with. I have to go. I have to go. Let me help you out.
Caught at the airport with a one-way ticket to Vietnam. That was just after the conviction of her son, Charlie Adelson, in this murder for hire plot. Take a listen to Sergeant Corbett from the Tallahassee PD, providing some more evidence connected to this trip to Vietnam.
This is between Miss Adelson and the Vietnam visa, and the first message in this conversation starts on November 7th at 3:55 p.m.
Okay, so is that within 24 hours of the verdict?
Yes. Hi, Daisy. I'm trying to get a fast-track emergency visa for Vietnam. I filled everything out on the online application. I filled out the visa option. I wanted the fastest I can get it, put in the applicant details with our photos approval. It's for Donna Adelson and Harvey Adelson. Yes, that is the site we applied for online. I just do not see how to pay for this.
Now, at some point in this chat, is it getting close to her flight date and she has not yet received her visas?
Yes.
Okay.
In addition to the photographs, she also sends copies of their passports.
Okay, and this is the flight information as far as where they're flying into, the date of arrival, the email, and the type of e-visa it is.
That's correct.
Okay, she gives them her flight information. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, now we're 5 days later, and does she say in capital letters, now it is almost 10 a.m. on Sunday. We take our flight tomorrow at 8 p.m. That is 30 hours. She's afraid that she's not going to get it in time. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, what happens next?
So the response is that we will send e-visa to you within 21 hours from now. It's fine for your flight. Please don't worry.
Okay, and does she actually end up getting her visa?
She does, yes.
Okay. Now, was there other evidence that showed that the Adelsons did not have plans of returning home anytime soon? What was found on her phone as far as her Amazon deliveries?
So there was a message to herself, kind of as a reminder, and this was on November 8th, to stop Amazon deliveries.
Okay, and was there a note left in their apartment to sell a belonging?
Yes.
Okay. Does this indicate that this is who Wendy should call to get the paperwork so the gun can be sold if it is to be sold?
Yes, as it needs to be sold with the paperwork.
All right. What about, we've heard about Donna Adelson's planner. Was there some entries in the planner for the week after Charlie Adelson's trial that indicated they weren't planning to come home anytime soon? What's the first entry here?
So the first entry we see is sell and list jewelry, dishes, implants, comics.
Oh boy, Alan Kagawa, what are your thoughts here? Do you think she is cornered the way Philip has described tonight, that she now has to testify to explain some of this stuff? I mean, selling jewelry and dishes. This doesn't sound like, you know, we're just going to take a little trip just to refresh in Vietnam.
I think absolutely she has to testify. But however, with this one particular thing, I don't think it actually carries as much weight as a jail informant, as well as her reactions to the recording. And the one reason for this is Charlie was just convicted, Magbano was convicted, Garcia was convicted. Everyone associated with this case was convicted. So I think the defense actually has a decent argument as saying at this point, she just thought she wasn't going to get a fair trial, and she might be considered, she may be considering leaving just because of that.
That's interesting. That's a way to twist it, Ellis, right? Like, hey, listen, I don't trust this government. You know, they're out to get us. They've got a target on our back, so we got to get out of Dodge.
So when you're looking at this type of consciousness of guilt flight evidence, there are two things that there's one thing that you mainly want to do, which is provide what's called an innocent explanation. Now, in this instance, when she was looking matters. Because one of the first things you're looking for is notice, like, do I know they're investigating me? Because that does matter. In this case, my colleague is correct. The fact that there was just a conviction of her son on the theory that she essentially planned it, in essence, that means that we know what's coming. So the fact that she was trying to leave that situation does help that argument.
Philip Dubé, are you shocked by all this evidence and all these things that they've done? The lack of sophistication. And this, again, Charlie's convicted, so we know the Adelson family's in on this, right? We're trying to figure out if Donna is. But, like, all of this stuff, the way they did everything here just seems like the amateur hour for people who probably think they're smarter than everyone else.
Am I shocked? Yes. And I make no bones about it. I grew up in a Jewish home. If somebody in the family crosses us or there's a divorce and they want the kids and they want to relocate, we don't blow their heads off. Instead, we don't invite them over for Shabbos. We don't invite them to the bar mitzvah. We don't invite them to the Sukkot hut or to the Purim carnival. Far be it from us to arrange a hit. So it is wild. It's weird. We don't see that very often. It's frankly, it's mind-boggling. Now, having said that, what I am really seeing here as to Mama Donna, and it doesn't necessarily have to be faith-based. It's any mother, and in this case, a grandmother. I don't think this is consciousness of guilt. This is consciousness of fear of what I call the injustice system. In her mind, she really believes that her kid was railroaded. She just watched her son Charlie go down on a conspiracy to kill and got LWOP, life without parole. And now the injustice system is coming after her and she's terrified. And what is she doing? It's like she's holding a swap meet to get rid of all the household goods because she's terrified. I don't think it's really such a stretch or so unusual to say that when somebody is in fear and as desperate as she was, that you do and say desperate things. But she needs to explain that to her jury. Otherwise, as presented, it's not looking good. And you know what else is really bad?
Well, I just want, one second, Philip. I just want to make a point here that, like, after hearing you make that explanation, I think you've made that argument in court before. Well, why do I think like that's not the first time that you've made that argument? Because maybe you had one or two clients who maybe tried to leave town when police were looking for them. So, Alan, where are we in this case? Like, are we at the point now where, because the smoking gun in a case like this would be like a recording ahead of time or someone sitting down with Donna, but it's always like there's intermediaries, right? Like Don Corleone would, not Don Corleone because he was innocent, he was a good guy. I'm talking about like a John Gotti would never directly have that conversation with the hitman, so that didn't happen here. Do you think prosecutors have done enough here that this jury can be convinced by all the circumstances here that Donna clearly is the one pulling the Corleone strings?
I think as of right now, the prosecution has done a pretty good job. However, they have left a couple holes, and I do believe that ultimately it may come down to Donna actually taking the stand and testifying.
Ellis, what do you think that's going to be like if she takes the stand?
I think that it's going to be
this is what I want to ask you.
Right.
Is she gonna seem like a victim, kind of like this grandmother that we were talking about, that Philip was talking about earlier? Or is it going to be the Donna that is the more forceful Donna that we've heard in the recordings that we've seen before?
I think that the hot mic moment did reveal a lot about how she's going to come across. She did not think that was being recorded. That was a pretty genuine conversation, and I think that came across pretty credibly, right? She didn't know she was being listened to, so that is what she obviously would be like, I think. So I think that's what we're going to expect.
All right. Thanks so much, Alan Kagawa, Ellis Palavidas, and Philip Dubé. Have a great weekend, gentlemen. All right, when we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, the Idaho 4 killer has admitted to his 4 cold-blooded murders and is in prison for life. But now the public recordings from the responding officers' body cameras have finally been released. What do they reveal? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
When the queen come through, y'all better move back.
Cardi B is back in the courtroom, facing civil allegations for allegedly attacking a security guard.
The Cardi B assault trial. Coverage continues Tuesday at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board and the reveal. Trial continues Tuesday. There you see her. On the left, that's Cardi A. On the right, that's Cardi B. Her trial continues Tuesday with closing arguments, and we'll be on a verdict watch. So let's go back and take a look at some of the biggest moments from Cardi's testimony.
Do you prefer I call you Miss Almanzar, Cardi B, or it doesn't matter?
I mean, you have been calling me Cardi B. I mean, who's easier? I was a little like, I don't want a guy that I work with to know I'm going to a vagina doctor. You following me, you're recording me. I'm just trying to check my cat.
Are we having a verbal altercation?
We having, I'll say, a debate.
And which one is your real hair? Or are they both real?
They're wigs. Because I'm pregnant and this girl's about to beat my ass. Hello?
Hello. Hello, I'm here.
I was looking at her face, but I wasn't looking like, she got a pimple on her face? She got a...
What was that?
I said, that's lie. Out of here. Just trying to get some money.
Who's trying to get some money?
She is.
How do you know that?
Because she sued me for $24 million.
You said she's bigger than you? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
How do you know that?
I mean, look. I mean, you have her medical records,
I don't
right?
have anything. I'm asking you the question.
I mean, I was 130 pounds at that time.
So she's overweight, right? In your opinion.
Objection, relevant.
She's a little...
You don't need to answer me.
Okay.
And again, Tuesday, closing arguments, verdict watch, and perhaps a likely verdict in the Cardi B civil assault trial. All right, take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Elizabeth Charmaine Oxford, 17 years old, missing out of Dallas, Texas. If you see Elizabeth, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Dallas Police Department in Texas. That number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Elizabeth to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.